incredible tests to measure competencies. But you have all these aspects of moral values, for example, which it seems to be out of PISA. And it's very important for the educational system to try to produce that in the new citizens. What do you think about that?
Actually, you know, PISA is evolving itself as well. We started out with the kind of thing relatively easy to quantify, mathematics, science, problem solving. Now we're working towards the assessment of social skills. 2015, for the first time, PISA is capturing that kind of dimension. In 2018, we want to look at something like global citizenship, the capacity of students to see the world through different lenses, different cultural paradigms, different kind of economic philosophies. Very important today that we all grow up with one set of beliefs and ideas and so on, but can we see the world through multiple lenses? So actually, it's very, very hard to quantify those things, but that's the idea of PISA, to evolve. When you move to an area like values, I mean, you know, I would actually think the biggest danger would be in constructing a simplistic test of values. And basically, one of the philosophies that we have, this is an aspiration for PISA, but we will go into the field when we are confident that we can capture those constructs in a holistic way, not just isolated pieces of this. That means PISA is incomplete. That's a valid criticism. At the very same time, you know, that should also not be exaggerated. You know, the absence of mathematical competencies doesn't imply the presence of great values. In fact, you know, great social skills today without foundational skills, you can run a mafia, but nobody's going to give you a job. So I think it's about the right combination. And I think we should recognize the limitations of PISA.
And you are working on
expanding it,
expand that.
And that's why it's important also not to over-interpret PISA results. We can't say if you're not doing well on PISA, nothing is going well. There could well be important elements that are not captured by the assessment, but they are very, very important. I mean, the relationship between the PISA scores and the life chances of people is frighteningly strong. You know, I wish the relationship would be weaker, but we can actually see the kind of PISA competences almost directly translate into, you know, employment, earnings, social outcomes. And for a country like Chile with huge social disparities in the outcomes, that's a real a challenge now.
And we have this picture of PISA now about the competency that the new competency that try to measure the important and incredible technical work that you had developed for a long time to arrive for this global measurement, which is very difficult. And now what are the results? What is the big result that you have? Because you have a sort of incredible, very important differences around the world.
Well, the first thing that strikes you is just the dramatic performance differences of 15-year-olds around the world. You know, these children have one thing in common. They have reached the age of 15. And their life chances, because of differences in skills, are hugely different. And in Chile, you have the added challenge that much of those differences are driven by social context. You know, the zip code more or less determines where you're going to end up in school, where you're going to end up in life. So actually, and the education system seems to almost reinforce those kinds of social disparities. You go to East Asia, you can see how children from all social economic backgrounds often deliver very, very strong performance. I mean, the fact that the 10% poorest children in Shanghai, who live in terrible conditions, basically outperform even the 10% of the most privileged children in Chile, shows us what's possible. I think the one thing that you can see really from PISA is there's enormous room for improvement for most countries in Latin America. I can say, you know, I mean, when you look at this over time, Chile is a country that has seen improvements. You can see the results today are a lot better than they were in the year 2000, but the pace of change has still not reached the level of dynamism that a country like Chile would need to actually match its status as an industrialized economy. I mean, at the level of economic development that Chile has achieved, you would expect actually a lot stronger results. The results that we see in the school system do not match the requirements of society and economy in Chile. And you go to Asia, it's the opposite. basically the education system is ahead of the economic development. Actually, those countries have great trouble using the skills that they have because people find no employment, but they see that as an investment in their future. I think that's what you can see from those
When
outcomes.
you have this kind of the countries that